We all know not to go near an old abandoned house. We've all heard about how dangerous these locations are, how trespassing can be risky, the unexpected can happen. Sometimes you find yourself running away from danger. Other times, though, the danger finds you. Hospitals are no different. They stand silent and empty, sometimes for decades, and they come with a lot of history, too. All the pain, the trauma, the loss of life. Hospitals can be haunted places, and tonight, we will explore one that is. Let's take a look at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium and why it's considered one of the most haunted places in America. The story begins back in 1910 when tuberculosis was killing over 100,000 Americans every year. This was also the time when Louisville began noticing this trend of people sick with TB. They needed a solution, and fast. So the city purchased 30 acres of land on a hill and created what would become Waverly Hills Sanatorium. The doors opened in 1910, but the sanatorium wasn't ready yet. It wasn't completed until 3 years later. And by then, the facility had a grand total of 76 beds. But before they could even fill those, the flu pandemic of 1918 hit. While it's estimated that 50 million people worldwide were infected, only 146 people would lose their lives in Kentucky. Still, these deaths prompted local officials to change the function of the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Instead of opening its doors to TB patients, the building was repurposed as a military convalescent hospital. There, soldiers would recover and prepare to return home. Once the military left in 1919, the TB patients finally arrived, along with a staff of 70 doctors, nurses, orderlies, pharmacists, and food services personnel. For the first few years, the treatments provided seemed to work. Doctors took patients out into the fresh air, fed them plenty of vitamins, and encouraged rest. However, things would quickly get bad again. By the mid-1940s, more than 2,500 patients occupied Waverly Hills, with the number of beds increasing to 700. It was overcrowding. Soon the treatments failed. The patients grew weaker and sicker, and the mortality rate rose. On average, 65 people would die each week, making Waverly Hills one of the deadliest hospitals in the country. In fact, at one point, it was considered the world's deadliest tuberculosis sanatorium. With the numbers so high, Waverly Hills developed a way to remove the bodies without scaring family members who came to visit. The process went as follows. After a patient passed away, their bed was kept empty for 2 days to prevent any new patients from being placed there. On the third day, the corpse would be placed on a gurney and wheeled to a freight elevator. From there, the body would travel through a tunnel and end up on the basement level of the hospital. Here, workers would transport the body to the morgue. But not always by traditional means. Often they would slide the body down the tunnel, which was referred to as the body chute, like a long metal slide. Before placing the body in a coffin, the cadaver would be chopped up into smaller pieces. This was done to make transportation easier. Then the remains would be buried in a mass grave. Today, it's believed that more than 60,000 people died at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which raises the question, do any of those souls still linger there today? Before we move on, make sure you guys subscribe for more scary videos. Legend says that while working the night shift, nurses would often see a man in a suit walking around the hospital. People say they've even seen his shadow cast on the floor. Others describe him as a security guard. He's said to be the ghost of Charles, a patient who was confined to Waverly Hills during the 1940s. The story goes that he was initially diagnosed with a mild case of tuberculosis, but as time passed, he became weaker. His time at the sanatorium lasted 6 months, and that's when Charles passed away. Now, some claim his ghost roams the corridors searching for a lost love. Others say he appears as an ominous presence, warning visitors to stay away. Some believe the ghost of Charles has even been captured on camera. Take a look at this photo, for instance. This image was taken by paranormal investigators in the basement of Waverly Hills. Upon further review, you can see what appears to be a shadow figure standing between the two people. Was this the lingering energy of someone who died here? Or is it just an ordinary trick of the light? What do you think? While he may be one of the most famous ghosts at Waverly Hills, he's certainly not the only one. The entire facility is said to be haunted, with some reports claiming that at least 200 ghosts roam its halls. Let's start with the ghostly presence in room 502. Many who have visited this particular room have reported feeling a cold spot, even when the weather outside is warm. Others have claimed that they've heard singing coming from inside the room, or as they walk through the door, they hear the sound of footsteps. According to legend, a nurse stayed in room 502 in the 1950s. She got pregnant, but since the hospital wouldn't allow unmarried mothers, she hid the pregnancy as best as she could. Eventually, she gave birth to a baby boy, and in a moment of despair, she killed him and herself. Now, visitors say they see the ghost of the nurse hanging in the doorway of room 502, or pacing the floor back and forth. But what about the voice? What could be the source of the mysterious singing and whispering heard throughout the building? Some believe it's the voices of the dead calling out to one another, or maybe even trying to communicate with the living. Many have reported hearing disembodied voices saying their goodbyes. Other parts of the building, including the operating room. People even claim to have recorded voices of children and nurses chatting and laughing as if they were still alive. In addition to the singing and whispering, there are various other sounds that have been reported at Waverly Hills. Footsteps echo down the hallways, even though there is nobody there. In some areas, you can hear the squeak of a rocking chair or a cough, or even the buzzing of a bedpan. If that doesn't creep you out enough, consider the sightings of shadow figures. Unlike the ghost of Charles, these apparitions are much harder to identify. That's because they appear and disappear in the blink of an eye. Some are described as tall, thin, and human-like. Others say they've seen small figures resembling children running through the halls. In fact, one of the most famous ghosts of Waverly Hills is a child named Timmy. According to legend, he lived in room 408 with his mother, who worked at the sanatorium as a nurse. The two of them were very close. When his mother started working, she would leave Timmy in the care of her colleagues. But one day he was left alone for far too long, and he wandered out of the room. Timmy walked to the end of the hall and threw himself over the railing. It was a 2-story fall, and he didn't survive. Some say his ghost still roams the halls and plays with anyone brave enough to visit. All you have to do is roll a ball down the hallway, and he'll join you. Sure enough, many paranormal investigators have claimed to see balls move on their own. As for the appearance of shadow figures, people have captured images they believe are ghosts. Take a look at this picture, for example. It was taken on the second floor of the West Wing. There appears to be a dark shadow figure standing beside the staircase. Another photo taken on the second floor shows what seems to be a group of children. These photos were taken during the daytime, so there's no doubt that what's being shown is a lingering energy that couldn't be explained by natural means. Today, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is an empty shell of its former self. The building has been decaying for decades, and it's now open for tours, allowing visitors to explore its dark and haunted halls. Some of the tours are offered during the day, others are reserved for nighttime. This is so people can experience everything the sanatorium has to offer, including the ghosts. We should mention that it's illegal to enter the property without permission. There are signs posted clearly stating that trespassers will be prosecuted. But for those who do sneak onto the property, they're likely to hear voices, footsteps, and even see the flicker of a shadow figure. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, it's hard to deny that there's something haunting about this place. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, it's hard to argue with the idea that there's something haunting about this place. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. We'll see you next time.